Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Fiore from the Wine101Show, coming to you live from a rainy New Haven, Connecticut. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we got a fun guest on tonight. We talked earlier during the week. We're going to bring her in just a few seconds. About 3-4 weeks ago, I issued not really a challenge, but the whole reason for doing this show is to actually get to meet some of the people we interact with on social media. And because of distance, everybody's schedule and everything, it's tough even with people within Connecticut that I talk to on the phone on a weekly basis. It's tough getting together with everybody. So to be able to do a live stream, to send somebody a bottle of wine, to have them send it to me, to sit down, do this, face to face, in a sense, on a live stream platform as this, and talk about wine. Tonight we're going to be talking about wine and cheese, something I have a huge passion for. So with that, we're going to bring in Maria from Wine&CheeseFridays.com, talk about her new website she just launched this past week. She's going to be live streaming tonight down in Tampa, Florida. And we're going to talk wine, we're going to talk cheese, and have a little fun with this. Get to know Maria, where she's been, where she's traveled, her whole wine background, how she got into the wine business, and what's coming up down the road for Wine&CheeseFriday.com. 3, ready, Maria? Here we go. 2, 1.
Hey.
Here she comes. Hey, you made it.
Sorry, internet phone.
No problem. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, very good.
Excellent. So, welcome to the show, Maria. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How's it going there?
So, give us a little background about Wine&CheeseFriday.com.
Yeah, definitely. So Wine&CheeseFriday.com is a website that I began in 2013, and the main point of starting it was because I had just moved to California at that point, and I was going to be getting a job in the wine world, and I felt like I really needed to step up my wine game. So I took the opportunity to taste a bunch of wines and write my notes and everything like that, so that I could basically study them. That's how it goes. And so then I decided too that cheese is awesome, and I had never really paired it with wine. I just knew that I liked cheese. So
I made it in heaven.
I figured, well, hey, everybody talks about this whole wine and cheese deal. Let's do that. And I found a list in a book called The Fun Book for Couples. And it said, in order to strengthen your relationship, you should do fun things. And
True
the
that.
things that I suggested was to have like a wine and cheese date night. And so it had a list of like 8 wines and cheeses in there that you should try. And so that kind of started the adventure. And like I said, that was over 3 years ago. And like you mentioned, we just transitioned it from being just a Tumblr blog to being a full-blown website that has content that you can access and search. And,
right.
Of course, that is evolving now that we finally got it going, to be able to use more interactive pairings or something like that, where you could put in like, hey, I have Merlot, what should I pair? Whatever.
Oh, good. Okay.
But as of right now, it has, like I said, 3 years worth of content, tons of stuff there, and I'm enjoying the adventure of it all.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I've been reviewing it since you went live, going over everything, living vicariously through your travels, you and your husband's travels and everything. It's a whole another aspect. We had a conversation during the week, and like I was telling you, I'm retail store based, so I'm locked into a store 6-7 days a week. So I don't get out there and travel as much as somebody like you and a bunch of other wine bloggers I talk to on the internet. So to see things from your point of view, your experiences, and hear all the stories, especially on your website, it's exciting for me because that's stuff I don't get to see all the time. So yeah, it's fun for somebody like me to see the photos you take. You're at the vineyard, you're tasting the wine, seeing if they're serving you cheese plates there, to see that whole interaction. I always love hearing stories. if my customers are going somewhere, California, Washington, anywhere, if they're going to vineyards, it's always great to hear how much fun they had, how the vineyard treated them. Great to see the pictures. Listening to their experiences. It makes me feel good that I'm selling this vineyard's wines because they're taking care of my customers just as well as I would. So
right, exactly. I used to be in a wine store also. I mentioned that we started the blog when we moved to California. Before that, we were in Florida.
Yep. And
so I got my start at a Florida vineyard, which everybody is always, baffled by that there is even a Florida vineyard.
Right.
There's actually a handful of them. There's about a dozen. And the one where I started was called Rosa Fiorelli Winery and Vineyard. They're in Bradenton, Florida. But they, it was really exciting to get started there and learn everything. And then moved to California about a year later, and we were there for about 3 years. But now we travel full time, which makes the blog more fun because we are all over the place.
Right.
And to taste wine wherever we are, whether it's Massachusetts visiting the family or Florida visiting the family or Ecuador. I mean, it kind of depends on where we are. So it's a fun way to, show it through the blog also. Yeah.
Grew up in New England in Massachusetts, an Italian-American family. I mean, similar situation, similar family background as I had. You were Chicopee, Mass, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Hour and a half south of you. How much did wine play a part in your household? Growing up?
That's the funny part is that my wine experience really mainly started at the Florida vineyard.
Okay.
When I was growing up, there was wine in the house. My uncle would make wine, and my dad would be like, "Here, drink this homemade wine." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, Dad." And it was always so strong. And I don't know. No disrespect to my uncle, of course, but I just wasn't the kind for me or whatever. So I never really got into it at all. It was there, but it wasn't anything that I grew up with.
Right. Yeah. Same in mine. I mean, Sunday dinner with pasta with the family. There was always a bottle of wine on the table, but it was never the focus. I mean, my family drank wine casually. It wasn't anything special. It was just like a bottle of soda on the table. It wasn't until I got into the business and started sharing that with everybody. They took more of an interest in it at that point. But But you, before getting into the wine business, you were in the biotech industry, were you not?
Yes.
It's a huge difference going from one extreme to the other.
So I, like you said, I grew up in New England and I went to college in Worcester. And
Worcester.
I went to Worcester State College, and I knew that I wanted to work in a lab. It was just like, already written cards or whatever. And so our school had a major that was specifically tailored to work in the biotech industry in Worcester. Like they basically came in and developed it so that they would train everybody to know what they wanted them to. So here I thought this is the big thing, I'm going to do it. And I worked in labs after that for like 8 years. And I loved the learning part of it. And I loved the critical analysis and everything. But I could not be in the lab. I was just going crazy. I was cross-eyed. I was stir crazy. I just needed to be outside and do other things. And so it was really kind of coincidental or an accident that I ended up in the wine industry, because one day I was like, hey, I've got quality assurance skills and sales skills and office skills and phone skills and everything, and I've been outdoors and I've been on a farm, and I'm like, man, I really should just go work for a winery. That sounds more fun. So I went to the Florida winery and it's like, hey, I want to work here.
Yeah.
So it worked out great because then it got me into the lab.
Yeah, exactly. Got you out of there.
Yeah.
Now you're in a whole different lab.
Exactly.
Yeah. Traveling experience. I mean, where haven't you been? It sounds like you guys have been all over the world. So, what's like your top places that that you've been to that you've probably gone repeatedly?
Sure. Well, we really haven't gone to too many places repeatedly because that's kind of our deal is that we like to go to new places. But we actually had a lot of really fun wine and cheese experiences in Ecuador and in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was pretty cool that we were able to fit that in when we really there was no reason to go to either of these places for wine.
Mm-hmm.
We went to them because we wanted to see them and explore the country and have the experiences. And then it just kind of worked out that there was wine and cheese.
Yeah.
In Costa Rica, we had this moonshine made from palm tree fat that they brought over in an old soda bottle and charged us like $8 for or whatever. And we looked up online, the details of it or how it would work, and it was like, you might get incredibly hungover, you might not be able to go to the beach after this, something aggravates it, and so, that was hilarious, but, so needless to say, it wasn't good. It's on the website, you can read about it. The name of the wine was called Vino de Coyol. The name of the palm tree is the Coyol, I guess. And so, but then we also found like homemade cheeses in Costa Rica at the farmers market, at like the local rest stop or the rest area. There would just be like a refrigerator with cheese in it, or it wouldn't be a refrigerator, it would just be out, and it would be like some sort of description in Spanish. Like one of the ones that we had was called cheese para derreter, and we were like, queso para derreter. Excuse me, but what that meant is that it's cheese that melts, and so it was like Velveeta, and it was hilarious. And we were like, Velveeta really doesn't go with wine, so bad choice there.
Yeah, but you live and learn. So tonight, we issued a cheese pair down with you, or you issued it to me. You reached out to me first, said, "Hey, I want to do this. Let's talk." So how'd you come up with the cheese? What drew you to the cheese? The cheese for tonight was Délices de Bourgogne, which is the if you don't know what it is, imagine a brie, soft white bloomy rind cheese. Imagine brie and a stick of butter got together. I mean, that's Délices de Bourgogne. It's a triple creme bloomy rind cheese. It's full fat. There's nothing dietary about this, and this comes from Burgundy, France. So yeah, oh yeah. No, I can't find my cheese right. Yeah, 3D. You need 3D and smell-o-vision app for this.
Yeah, exactly. But and then we voted it as one of our top cheeses of 2014. So I figured it was definitely one we should do tonight.
Yeah. I had experience when we talk. Most people that know me, I worked in the cheese business for about 3 years. The best way to serve this cheese is just take it out a couple hours before. I mean, you're looking at it now. It's not ultra runny yet, but as this gets a little warmer, I mean, it's just creamy like a soft stick of butter, and that's what you want. When you put a cheese platter out, you want your blues stinky. You want your bries what they call weeping. Your semi-hard cheeses, you want them to start sweating. You see a little beads of sweat going on them. And some of your more aromatic cheeses, you want that whole room to stink pretty much. That's when you know everything's ready to go. But
and that was one thing I wanted to make sure we brought up tonight, because I know a lot of people enjoy cheese, but they're probably not aware of that if they haven't gotten some of the more artisan or upscale cheeses that you do need to have them sit out.
Yeah.
And that it's like 1,000 times better. And you really don't know that instinctually. You think, oh, it's in the fridge. I don't know. I just take it out and eat it. But yeah, once they start getting so gooey and everything, it's just a whole new level.
Yeah, exactly. I love them like that. So, picked the cheese. I was excited because I haven't had this cheese in a while. It's one of my favorites. That whole family of cheeses, the triple cremes, are really crowd pleasers when you bring them out. So I was excited. Also gave me a chance to go off the beaten path, visit, the store I broker some of my wines out of. A friend of mine walked in there. I'm looking around, trying to think about what you were going to send me. And at the same time, I'm trying not to send you the same thing without knowing what we're going to do, what we're sending each other. We didn't get hints or anything. I think the initial thing you asked was, well, what are you going to send? I said, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything. It's a total surprise. I said, you go with your gut, what you feel like. So you sent me the, I'm going to show everybody now. You sent me the Louis Jadot, the Macon Volage from Burgundy. And a little show and tell like back in school. This is the Kenwood Pinot Noir from Russian River, which is one of my favorites, under 20. Really well made Russian River Pinot. In Connecticut, it sells for actually 15 up here rather. It's just really good stuff. So when I'm walking through the store, I actually had a bottle of white Burgundy in my hand to send you from another appellation in the Burgundy called Saint Veron. But as I turn the corner and you show everybody what I sent you.
Yeah, I have Lambrusco here, which I didn't open yet because I figured the pop of it would be fun for on screen.
Yep.
And then the Henry Fessy Cru du Beaujolais.
Yeah.
And honestly, the mustache is what I thought. I was like, oh, this is a mustache wine. Like, I had to remembering what it actually was, so I didn't just refer to you. Oh yeah, the mustache wine.
Yeah. So I had the white Burgundy in my hand. Around the corner, I saw the Morgan on the rack still, and I think it's a 2011, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I that one blew my mind. I've had that before. It was the last one he had on the shelf. I said, no, put the Chardonnay back. I'm bringing this one. I'm going to send her this one. I'm just going to – usually people will do mostly mostly whites with a soft cheese. So I want to throw a little zinger in there. Then the Lambrusco. I like Lambrusco. I like bubbles with soft, creamy cheeses like this because the bubbles make the oil, the fat, they make it pop, make the flavor pop. So just something a little different because I've been pouring a lot of cava, a lot of California sparkler, so I wanted to go a little bit different flavor. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, well, I have to say, when I saw the two that you sent, you had gotten me a little nervous because you said you sent something out of the ordinary or something, and I mean, knowing the content on my blog, I'm like, oh my god, did he send me like some peach Connecticut wine or something like that? Like, I don't know, even out of the ordinary, I really just had no clue what you were sending. And then I was very pleasantly surprised when I was like, oh, Beaujolais and Lambrusco? Yeah, okay, that's great. Like, I was like, you had me nervous, but maybe that was on purpose. I don't know.
Well, we'll do that for a different show. You send me a peach wine from Florida. I'll find one in Connecticut. I'll send you. We got pumpkin wine up here. I'll send you a pumpkin wine for the holiday.
Yeah, oh God, I tried pumpkin wine last fall. It was awful. So
yeah, I wouldn't.
Although I did pour it with ham after I tried the cheese because it did not work with the cheese.
No.
But then I had it for like a ham dinner.
Yeah.
And it was appropriate, at least in that vein. I can't say it was wonderful, but at least it made more sense then.
Right. So if you want to do the honors, ladies first, you want to pop that cork?
All right. Terrific.
So she's doing I sent her a Lambrusco, excuse me. This isn't the Riuniti version. Most people, when they think of Lambrusco, they're thinking of the big 3-liter jug of Riuniti, made popular back in the 80s, along with the Canai and all those fun wines. Again, Lambrusco is from Emilia-Romagna region of Italy, just north of. If you're looking at the boot, bang, there it goes. See that? Boom. Lambrusco is getting more and more popularity as people are experimenting with them. You're seeing a lot more coming. Well, a lot more better stuff come into the States. This one in particular, I mean, this is in that region. Lambrusco is a grape. There are 6 to 7 different varieties of the Lambrusco grape. So,
oh, cool. That was something I wondered.
So, and each regional DOC that creates Lambrusco, that makes Lambrusco, they have their own laws and how they want to blend it. But for the general picture, at least 75% is of the Lambrusco varieties. Then the rest, the 15%, give or take. I mean, they could blend, whatever else they're growing, their Cab and some other indigenous grapes. Lambrusco is not made like champagne. They do a different method. It's called the Charmat method or the tank method. It's secondary fermentation is done in the bottle. Secondary fermentation is done in the tank, big steel tank. Thus, cost comes down a little bit. So give her a pour. See what you think.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking.
No, go ahead. Too. I love pouring this. Huh? I love pouring Lambrusco around the holidays, especially in an Italian house. I mean, we do big antipasto platters, so everybody likes it. It's a fun wine, good color, nice
yeah, that's
light red.
Pretty. It's like kind of like a rose color.
Yep. How the bubbles on it? It's not too bubbly, right?
No, not too bubbly, but you can see they are coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty color. It's not really dark or light. In between. Like I said, kind of like rose.
So when I do wine tastings, I'm sure like I said, everybody has their own method of tasting wine. So I practice the 5 S's of wine tasting when I teach my classes and everything. So the first thing you do, obviously, you pop the cork is you looked at it. So C.
Right.
Next thing I usually do, and it's interchangeable. People go back and forth between them. I give it a swirl. So with a sparkling wine, I don't swirl it vigorously just because I don't want the bubbles to really dissipate a lot. So
I was actually going to ask that. I know that sometimes people are like, "Oh no, you can't swirl a sparkling." That's how I get the aroma to come out. Is
right,
swirl it.
Right. So I give it a little gentle swirl, yeah, just like that. The third S, sniff. So what are you smelling?
At first, I smell kind of like candy.
Yeah, okay.
Or strawberries. I want to smell like makeup or something. Also,
like what?
I have no idea why. Like, I don't like makeup that you would apply to your face. I don't know. I'm not sure why I would think that it would smell like that, but I really enjoy wine for those crazy things that you're like, yep,
right.
That's what it smelled like when my mom would get her. Like, I was not this, thank goodness. But when you get those just weird sparks in your memory of like, okay, yeah. I think that's what I'm smelling right now.
That's right. That's the reaction I like getting out of people in my classes. Especially my college students to see what they're thinking and everything. I always use the example. We tasted a white Rioja in one class I did, and somebody called out dill pickles. And it got like infectious. Everybody in the room said, yeah. It was like subliminal. You say something, bang.
And then you can't taste anything else.
Right.
Like, it's just now.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Exactly.
That people would notice banana peppers.
Right.
And as soon as you said it, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, and it was weird because it was like dark cherries and banana peppers. It was a Cab from Howell Mountain. So it was a crazy one. But anyway.
So give her a sip. That's the fourth S. So we see, we swirl, we sniff. Now we're going to sip, savor. What do you think?
The bubbles are pretty light.
Yeah.
I like that about it. It's not intense. Sparkling. I'm getting the similar flavor with the strawberry initially, but then it does. It is drying out after that. It's not sweet.
Yeah. Right.
Which we wouldn't expect, like you said, in an authentic Lambrusco, even though the reunion is what a lot of people think of.
Right.
They just think of like probably bubble gum or something like that. Although the flavor initially kind of was like a strawberry bubble gum or something like that. Like I said, it does dry out. Like, it's not just like, oh God, this is candy.
Right. Okay.
right, we're gonna jump into the cheese now too.
You're gonna dip into the cheese now.
All right.
Well, I get prepped up over here. Pour mine.
So usually, when I do my wine and cheese things at home,
Yeah.
I do. I write a few notes about the cheese first before I get into the pairing, just so that I can see how it changes with the interaction of the wine.
Right. Okay.
So let's go. I have a spoon so that I can scoop out my cheese.
No, you have to. Yeah. Delise has a little funk to it too on the rind, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
A little tack.
I enjoy the salt when I'm tasting cheese also.
Yeah.
Hang on one second. Like I said, double duty here.
Did Neil get a glass of wine yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. He's patiently waiting.
Yeah.
There he is.
As he takes it off screen.
Neil sneaking a glass off screen.
Definitely some tanginess, some salt. The texture is great. Being in Florida, I didn't have to take mine out a few hours early. I took it out like 40 minutes early, and it was already squishy and falling apart. So that's an advantage there.
If people at home watching this, run out to your Trader Joe's, go try get a piece of this cheese. I mean, it is absolutely like decadent.
And I was going to say the rind does have a little bit of I disagree where it kind of tastes like chlorine or something like that. I mean, but again, not bad, not eating bleach, but like it's just something along those lines. And I taste that a little bit on this rind also.
Okay. Yeah. It's whatever bacteria they inoculated that with. Sometimes it goes a little haywire. It really gets real pungent on it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we actually had the opportunity to visit a cheese cave when we were in Italy. It was the Luigi Capacci Cheese Cave, and they are huge cheese distributors in Italy. I mean, they had like 300 different cheeses there.
Oof.
And we learned so much about cheese when we were there. But watching them wash the rind was such a crazy experience that, again, you have no idea about that.
Right.
I mean, some of them, they have like all this mold and it's fuzzy and that's how they want it. And then other ones, they like use a brush and scrub it and everything. And you know, like you said, like the washed rind and everything like that, and the bloomy rind. I mean, it's just so cool getting to see it all in its, you know, in its natural environment, if you will.
Right. Yeah, there's a place in New York, Murray's Cheese. They have specially designed caves just for certain styles of cheeses where it's almost a natural bacteria growing in there. So when they put the cheese in, it just automatically attaches to it. It's really wild.
Right.
Some people that haven't been in a cheese cave, it's so interesting to see, especially if you're into all that. I mean, your biotech background. I mean, that must have been like, wow, hey, this is actually pretty good.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I like it so much, because it still fills that need of me learning and me getting to figure the stuff out. And just getting to see like the reactions behind it. I mean, it's just so much more exciting than learning about like how does my bacteria affect a pharmaceutical product in the facility or whatever. You know, I mean, that was the main idea of the studies that was just keeping the people out of the drugs, basically. Like they're critters.
Right. So how did the wine go with the cheese? What did you think?
I'm going for that now. It's not nearly anymore. I think that the cheese is really having an effect on the wine. Like there's like funk that I'm smelling. Like I didn't taste it yet, but just even probably because I'm breathing like the funk from the cheese is getting at the wine.
Yeah. This is the fun part.
Yeah, the wine is still tart, and there's a lot of funk from the cheese. Like the cheese is definitely taking over on this one.
Is it? Okay. So the funk's coming out more now?
The funk's coming out way more.
Okay. Because sometimes the Lambrusco get funky.
Funk.
Yeah.
It's tricky to know.
Yeah.
And then today it could have the sour notes and tomorrow it doesn't.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, well, I thought I knew this wine. Come on.
Right. Right. But no, see, that's interesting. I thought when you have a reaction like that where the cheese funk might come out more with this. So good. Hey.
Right.
Mission accomplished. Excellent. I'm going to do mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Volley back and forth. So I just poured the Louis Jadot. It's 2015 Macon Village. So when we talk Burgundy in general, pretty much there's two wines in the big picture of Burgundy, the region of France. Primarily two wines. There's actually four, but the top two are Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So if you hear red Burgundy, it's Pinot Noir. If you hear white Burgundy, it's always Chardonnay. The two minor grapes that they grow out there is a grape called Aligote, and the fourth, the least acreage, it's only 3,000 acres of. It's called Gamay, and we'll get into Gamay on the next one. So with the Macon Village from Louis Jadot, so you're looking at Burgundy. When you come to the furthest point south, that's the Macon, and within Macon, there's Pouilly-Fuissé, Macon Village. There's the Macon, Saint Veron. Like I love Chardonnay from Saint Veron, and for the most part, these are unoaked Chardonnays, especially when you're talking about the Macon, Macon Village. They're unoaked. So when people who haven't had these, we talked about this earlier in the week. People, I hate Chardonnay. Oh, too oaky. You taste them on something like this, it changes their whole perception of it. You're tasting Chardonnay in some of its purest form with zero oak addition. What's that?
We got this one for the first time. We were at a French wine tasting at a store called Bevmo that was right down the road from us. Okay. And we tried Louis Jadot and Charles Spar wines that night. Okay. And there were like 8 of them or something. And at the end of the tasting, we went back up and we were like, okay, we really like this one. It was number 4 on the list or whatever. Can we try it again? And they were like, oh, you mean the Chardonnay from Burgundy? And we were like, oh, it's Chardonnay? Like, we totally didn't even know because we weren't familiar with the Burgundy style of Chardonnay because we're in California. I mean, California Chardonnay is usually so distinctive that it's like, oh, cool, that's Chardonnay. We didn't even know.
Yeah. So, this one pours out nice pale yellow. I mean, you're not gonna be able to see it there. I can even put white behind it, but it's ultra light. Right.
Yeah.
But on the nose, you get a lot of minerality. You get a little citrus notes. I mean, it's like classic Burgundian Chard. Medium, dry. Pick up like a little bit like green apple skin. You get a little white pepper. You get a little like lemon zest. Really good. I mean, people have not had this. If you like dry wines, this nice dry Chardonnay without the oak, without the butter. It's just a great wine. It's a great food wine. You get a little bit of that acidity on the back end. Really good. So now let's try it with the cheese and dip off for a second.
Sure. Yeah, those are similar notes to when we had it. I have a blog entry about that too. I was reviewing them just to see if it would be the same.
Now you're tasting a little more. It brings out the saltiness in this cheese. Real good. I mean, yeah, now you're tasting a little more of that the salt and minerality in the cheese itself, the two of them coming together. The cheese tones that lemony zest on the back end. The white pepper tones that all down. Oh, that's good. And it hangs on longer on the back end of this. So
Right.
on its own, you eat the cheese, yeah, you get the creaminess. Same thing with the wine. You get that lemon zest on the finish. The two of them together, I mean, the hang time, the finish on this just keeps going on and on and on. It's still there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember one of the things we noticed too with the wine was that wine it definitely had the minerality and the citrus and everything, but then it would kind of like flip around and go soft.
Yeah.
And then be crisp, and then it would go soft.
Yes.
And so that was the reason I chose this wine to send you, because I was like, I remember it was so interesting, like it kept changing, like, and that's what I like in white wine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I like a wine that holds my interest. I'm not drinking wine for the buzz or for the appearance or whatever. I'm drinking wine because I'm interested in the wine.
Right.
So when we travel and we find those wines that are just not good, we're like, oh, I just want a wine that like holds my interest.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like, give me something here. Like, I don't want just candy and sweet and fruit. Like, give me some earth and everything.
Yeah, give me some depth. Give me some character. That's what I look for too. Like a lot of people, same thing. I'm looking for something interesting. A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, you're being a snob about it." I'm like, no. I mean, certain people drink wine or buy wine for different reasons. You know, hey, I like to drink wine like the next person. You know, I like to socially drink and all that. But when I'm tasting wine, I'm always looking, just like you said, I'm looking for something of interest, something that grabs me. You know, and it's like going down a rabbit hole. I mean, you're always looking for the next one. You're always looking for something else that has something more to it. You know, it's a vicious cycle.
Right, exactly.
So, you want to get into the next one?
Yeah.
You ready?
For those people that haven't seen the website yet, one thing to let you know is that Neil and I do tastings together typically, and our palates are very different from each other, which makes a really fun tasting for the wine. Because there's times when we're like, seriously, that's what's in your glass right now? Like, you pour a different wine, they're just not the same usually. So you get to see that on the website also.
Yeah, I mean, my wife tastes differently than I do too. So, I mean, she'll come out with different things, you know. But I think, not because you're a guest, but not because you're my guest tonight on the show, but I think it's true. I think women are super tasters. And so you're doing the 2011 Henry Fessy Morgan.
That's right.
Okay.
It's on here for our viewers at home. So far, I can tell that it doesn't have a huge aroma coming from it.
Okay.
But the aroma that is berry.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a light aroma.
Most people know Beaujolais from right around Thanksgiving when the Beaujolais Nouveau comes out. So when you look at Burgundy, you go all the way south of Burgundy, the Macon and Beaujolais kind of overlap. So from north to south, the region of Beaujolais, the most northern part of Beaujolais is where they produce the Cru Beaujolais, which is the top tier of Beaujolais wine. All right. This has nothing to do with Beaujolais Nouveau. All they share is the grape, which is Gamay. And depending on the producer, how they make it, I mean, some of these guys could make this pretty close to red Burgundy, you know, where it picks up like tart cranberries, a lot of funk. So within the Cru, there's 10 different crus. So you're tasting one of our Morgan, there's Julian, there's Saint Amour, and each one of them do something a little different. Some of them are made to be more fruit forward. Some of them are big, heavy, you know, tannins. The Morgan's built to age, so you can get a little bit of longevity out of this.
I'm getting a hint of funk, but not a lot of funk.
Yeah. Okay.
Like maybe it's there, but not a ton. And speaking of the Knox of France, I was looking those up recently, and going, okay, yeah, right, Burgundy, Beaujolais, they're right next to each other. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Because when you take wine kind of just as, oh, today I want to try this, you don't really need to know where the places are.
No, right.
So it's fun when you put it all together and then go, oh, yeah, the cheese and the wine and everything, yeah, they are all near each other. That's cool.
Yeah.
I have tart, cranberry, and then I never know how to really describe this. A lot of times I say something is chalky.
Yeah.
Like I feel that it's like coating my tongue.
Yeah.
But I'm drying out my tongue also.
Tannin.
I would say that that it has that going also. We didn't talk about the color on it before. You can tell that it's a lighter texture. You can kind of see through it, which is obviously popular or common with the Beaujolais and the Gamay. They're usually not very dark.
No, right.
So you can see that it's that it is a lighter wine, but it does have kind of a darker color. It's almost kind of more that it's almost transparent. Like you can see that it's dark, but you can see through.
So did you try it with the cheese?
No, not yet. Sorry.
So
my Italian in me are just talking.
No, that's all right. I had posted something on Twitter the other day. What grows together goes together, and usually, vice versa. When I worked at a cheese shop, when I worked in the wine shop, people are always, "Oh, what do you pair with this? What do you pair with this cheese? What wine do you pair?" You know, I mean, general rule for everybody that's listening. When I post this onto YouTube for people that are watching on the YouTube channel, easiest thing to do is find out where the cheese comes from and find out what grows around there for wine. I mean, they're sharing the same soil, same terroir, and generally it goes together. But the other end of it is when doing pairings, found out a lot of people we talk to, you know, a lot of seminars we've been through, a lot of things we read. White wines generally pair better with cheese just because lower alcohol, obviously the tannins have a lot to do with it. Sparkling wine, and people laugh at me when I tell them beer. Beer's a great cheese pairing because low alcohol.
Yeah, I think wine and beer and cheese going on lately.
With the cheese, how's it going?
So the wine really calms down. It's almost like at first there's no flavor. Like you feel that you have the wine going in, you can feel the wetness of it, but there isn't much flavor with it. And then it got a kind of a spike of tart and spice.
Okay.
More in the finish. And I still have a little bit, although, I mean, the cheese is so good, but I feel like the cheese is kind of overpowering.
Really?
It's like, I don't know, some of the tastings that we've done, we've gotten like new things that year, like, ooh, walnuts. Where did that come from? Like, and that's like the aha of wine and cheese pairing for me, when you get something that you totally did not have in wine or the cheese, and then it just like pops up from the pairing. But yeah, like I said, I did get the spice and the tart in the finish. So that's good. I believe that the cheese killed the wine, which is always the fear.
Yeah, right. No, right. Before cheese what it is today, like the Lisa Bourguignon was a specialty. It still is a specialty item, don't get me wrong. But you went to specialty cheese shops like us to get that. You didn't see it everywhere. You didn't see it at, Trader Joe's. You had to come to a real specialty store to see that. So, I mean, that's 10 years ago. Look at it now. And, I mean, even Trader Joe's has a great cheese selection. I go there, I find something like, oh, my God. And it's stuff that was not tough for me to get back then. But, you had to go through hoops just to get the stuff. Now it's everywhere. I mean, that's because there's a need for it. People want stuff like that. It's the same with wines. We talked about that with wines. The more blogs people read, blogs like yours, things they see on Instagram, Twitter, or Pinterest, Facebook, say, oh my God, that looks good. On YouTube, when people are going to watch this, they're like, wow, those wines sound great. That cheese sounds great. Where can I get it? There's more of a demand. companies are listening, and they step up their programs, novels, and your blog, and your experiences, and everybody else in the wine world. There's so much stuff out there, that doesn't get rated, and when you talk to a lot of these winemakers, they don't care about the ratings. It's not important to them. They just.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and it's hard for them because they either are making wine that they like, and if they sell it, great, and if they don't, they'll drink it because they like it.
Right.
Or trying to play it as a critic. And
right. Yep.
I can't imagine how hard that could be to think that. I mean, well, though again, to backstep, going to 20 places in California, I mean, people want the biggest, suck the moisture out of your mouth wine that exists. So, I mean, I guess that's what they think the critics and what the public wants.
So.
Yeah, you had recommended the Forme de Ambert.
Yeah, Forme de Ambert. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh my God, I had it with one of my friends in San Francisco who is like Mr. Gourmet.
Yeah.
And he had never had it before. And he was like, oh my God, Maria, this is so good.
Yeah.
Like totally impressed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, you're welcome. And that's part of the business. I'm sure you guys get emails. You're going to get more of them now with your website on wineandcheesefriday.com. You're going to get people saying, hey, I read your blog. I went out and I tried that. That was fantastic. Or I went to this wine bar. It was fantastic. That makes you feel great. That's, hey, a paycheck's great. We all need to get paid. But you know what? When someone gives you a compliment back like that, it makes it all worthwhile, and that's
right.
People like us. That's what we're always striving for. You make people happy, but those kinds of relationships where people can email you, call you, tweet at you and say, hey, that was great. Thank you for that.
Right.
Or even the negative sometimes. Somebody will say, hey, that didn't work for me. And you say, oh, all right, well, what happened? You always try to find out why, maybe something else, something interacted with it. Or you say, all right, now I kind of have a general idea of what your palate does. So try this instead.
Sure.
If you're saying that this Chardonnay is too sweet, which it isn't, but if you're saying that's too sweet, all right, let's try this then. Maybe this is, you go in a different direction with them. But yeah.
Right. And it's so funny. I mean, how we were talking about the barnyard and the funk and whatever. I mean, getting into wine and you have such a funny perspective.
Yeah.
Like, we tried this cheese at the very beginning of the blog that was called Pont Levesque.
Yeah.
And oh my God, was it a smelly cheese? And we were like, we couldn't even have it in the room with us.
Yeah.
Like, we were like, oh, let's just put it over there. Like, it was insane. And then we had a Gruyere that we were like, oh, I don't know about this Gruyere. And then, fast forward, 6 months or a year, whatever, we have friends that are from Switzerland, and they're like, oh, let's have some Gruyere. And we're like, yeah, let's have some Gruyere. And we had it, and we're like, how did we think this was bad? This is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, Gruyere is amazing. Like, it's just funny. Like, your palate does evolve, but you have to, I think with cheese, you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be like we did a podcast with Neil's sister, and she was like, oh, I don't really do blue cheese. And we were like, well, just try it.
Right.
And we had the blue cheese with the Sauvignon Blanc, and she was like, okay, blue cheese is weird, but I can see what it's doing here, and I appreciate that. She's like, I'm not going to go out and have blue cheese every day. She's like, but, thank you, it's cool, and I see the interaction, and so I feel like that's the thing with wine and with cheese. I mean, that's why I don't ever go to the same place or have the same wine or whatever, because I want the new, like, oh, what's this?
Right.
Like, you have to be open to it and try it out and see what happens. Right. And, if it's a weird cheese or a bad wine, then there's always more to try tomorrow or
exactly.
week or whatever,
And just like you said with blue cheeses, I mean, somebody could try one style of blue cheeses. Oh, this is disgusting. But they're not all made the same. It's just like wine, just like beer, like everything else. It's somebody else's interpretation. A cheesemaker wants to make a blue cheese, but he wants to create his own style. I mean, we talked about Rogue River, Rogue Creamy out in Oregon. I mean, I can remember some of their blues. They taste like bacon. They're so bacony. They're salty. I mean, they're fantastic. Then, you flip over to a Gorgonzola from Italy, tastes totally different, Two totally different interpretations of the same kind of cheese. This is the second wine you sent me. This is from Kenwood. It's the Russian River Pinot Noir. And again, Kenwood's really great stuff. like when I first got into the business, Kenwood does a line called the Jack London series, black bottle with the wolf on it. And the guy I was working for had bought, we call in the business a closeout. It's when a distributor has a bunch of wine sitting around they just want to get rid of fast. They drop the price drastically so somebody can move it. Right. And I think the Jack London, which usually sold for like $20, $25 at the time, we were selling for $12, $15. So when I first got into business, Jack London Cabernet was my first case buy of wine. So just it was just delicious. And then when they started coming around with the Russian River Pinot Noir, it's fantastic. It's so much better than some of the other stuff out there in this price range. Mm-hmm. So again, no, go ahead. What were you say?
No, I was just going to say how you said in that price range. We have found so many times that Pinot Noir is the hardest thing to buy inexpensively. Yeah. That, I mean, if you want to get a Pinot Noir that you don't know, that you have to spend like 30 minimum. And we've talked to friends about that, and they're like, oh, I would never spend $30 on a wine, but I hate Pinot Noir. It's gross. And we're like, right. Yeah, but Pinot Noir is one that it takes it to a different level. I mean, like, you know, Cabernet ranges like insane. You know, you could get a $3 Cabernet or a $5 million Cabernet or whatever. Right. Pinot Noir, it's got like a different entry level or something. Like you have to hit like 30 before. And like you said, luckily, sometimes you can get them on sale and things like that. So you can find them, or you just luck out. Thank God you try it and you're like, hey, this is a good one, and it's 18 or whatever. But it's funny how specifically with Pinot Noir that you have to really keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Now this one's got a ton of characters. So anybody that goes out and looks for this at their local store, new label. Might be some old ones kicking around out there. The guy near me saw the old label. Not that it's a huge difference, but tons of character. So, I mean, you smell it on the nose, musty. You smell the earth on the nose. I mean, it's not like these big cherry bombs, you know, like when Sideways came out in the retail business, we just saw everybody jump on the Pinot Noir wagon, you know, and then it happens like that with every grape out there. One of the Twitter chats going on is a wine studio, and their focus is Malbecs this month. And when we're talking about, you know, there's a lot of garbage coming. You know, this is, you know, it goes like that with everything. Like Pinot Noir destroyed Merlot. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, everybody wanted Pinot Noir, so they're uprooting these vineyards just to plant Pinot Noir. And a lot of it coming out was it was garbage. It wasn't great representation of what that grape can do. Right. And same thing with Malbec. I mean, Laura Catena from Catena Vineyards down in Mendoza, Argentina. She said it years ago. She's like, we're at the beginning stages of people really noticing Malbec. She goes, just wait. She goes, Malbec's going to turn into what Shiraz did in Australia. She goes, it's going to go through its phase just like everyone else does, you know, and they're going to kill it. But yeah, this is roughly, I'll say under 20, because I don't know around the world, around the States where this fluctuates. So you're going to find this under 20, this Kenwood. But medium body, dry, you're getting black pepper, like tart currants. Not real funky, but earthy. You're definitely tasting earthiness to it. Yeah, like a lot of forest floor, like crushed leaves. Like a faint hint of smoke on it.
Yeah. Neil's getting excited over here. He's like, man, why didn't you buy us one of these bottles?
He's running out to the store right now. Say, hey, I got to get one of these. We're going to go in for the cheese now. See, I opened this like 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Just to let it breathe.
Right.
I'll tell you, I mean, tomorrow, try it again tomorrow, because that's going to change a lot overnight, like everything else. But,
right.
Yeah, it's got some wicked hang time. Mm-hmm. Almost like cinnamon. You get a little bit of cinnamon in the back end, the longer it sits on the back of your palate. And this is what we talk about when we're talking about wines with character. You know, you're looking for something like this that does all these different things, does all these tricks for you. So going for the cheese.
Yeah, Neil and I actually have been to the Kenwood Vineyard right outside of Jack London State Park. It was really cool. We that was one of our first trips to Sonoma, and we had something called the Sonoma Passport, and we got to. It was like, I don't know, $20 or something, and you could visit like 40 different Sonoma wineries in like a 6-month span or something like that. And so that's how we went to Kenwood Vineyards. And the fact that it was available here in Florida, I was pretty impressed. I was like, oh, I remember that being a good one. We actually did a whole month in 2013 when we first started the blog that we called P-November. So all November we did Pinot Noirs because, like I said, Neil likes them so much and he loves the funk and all of that. I was like, I don't think I'm as excited about Pinot Noir as you are. So we tried 5 different ones so that I could find out what I was looking for in a Pinot Noir. And I like the fruit. I mean, the fruit's good. I can't do the funk that much on a wine, but I like the spice. What did you think of the texture on this one? Did you think it was heavy, light? Where did it fall?
Medium. To me, it came in just medium. I don't think it's too light at all. Okay. It's definitely not full. It's nice medium, but it's got that earthiness really holds it all together, I think. But with the cheese, on the cheese, I lose the saltiness from the cheese. But I think it picks up more earthiness of the cheese and the two of them together.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth between the cheese and the wine.
Right.
So tasting the cheese on its own, I mean, before we were talking about, it's an earthy party. Yeah. Where it's buttery, creamy, salty. Yeah. But the earthiness from the two kind of kick up on this.
Right.
But it doesn't go to a bad place. It's still, you just get earthiness. You don't get anything really crazy funky.
Right.
Yeah, real interesting. It doesn't bury it either. Because sometimes you look at a red wine and say, oh man, it's going to kill the cheese.
Right. Yeah, and it's really funny because we've actually paired so many red wines with cheese, and definitely, like you said, the white is kind of the easier pair. Or the more straightforward pairing. But a lot of times when we would do the wine and cheese pairings, we would only go through like maybe a third of the bottle or something because we're spending so much time thinking about it and really analyzing it and analyzing the flavors of the cheese and then tasting them together and tasting them separate. And so we like to have the wine the next day with dinner, and red is a lot easier to have with dinner. So we would really enjoy seeing it, like you said, the next day and then trying it again. And we eat a lot of really natural foods that don't have a lot of preservatives. We eat at the farmer's market, or at the farmer's market all the time, and fresh fish and fresh pork chops and everything. So, so the red wines are easier for that. So if we can do double duty, then that's even better. So we've tried a lot of the reds, but sometimes the reds, the alcohol just comes out like crazy with the funky cheeses, and then you you feel bad because you're excited that you're doing the pairing, but then you're like, oh, I'm tasting alcohol. I don't want to give it a bad rating. So I'm tasting the alcohol, but I am, and so. So anyways, but I'm glad that you had the earthy party. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad that I was able to find both of those wines here in Florida because I had them both in California when I was there. And so that was one of my biggest challenges, was finding a wine that we had tried to send to you, because I didn't want to just go blind with something that's highly distributed and I didn't really know. So that was really cool when I found that Kenwood. I was excited. I was like, ooh, I've even been there. That's cool.
See, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. That's
Right.
you're sharing your experience from being at the vineyard. I've never been there. I've sent customers there, and
Right.
to hear all that, that's how I'm living through everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Next time I could sell it. Next time I sell this wine, it's my friend Maria's been there, really good. She had a really good experience there. Check out her blog. She wrote about it. That's
Right.
that's how it all works. And I think people really gravitate to stuff like that. They say, oh wow, living through your travels, living through our tastings, anything. They say, oh wow, well he got excited about it. Let's go try it.
Right.
Very good. Good job. Bravo. Good job on the pairings. Very good.
Does that mean we're ready to vote?
So, yeah, give them a vote. What do you think?
Well, I tasted the Beaujolais again, and I definitely get a tartness to it. That would probably be my main descriptor for it, is that it is tart. But I would be curious. Like I said, I have the salami here and these olives and stuff. I could probably try to pair that up and see. I actually was just going to try the Lambrusco again too and see what it's doing now.
I'll tell you what. If you got some salami,
yeah,
Lambrusco goes great with cured meats. Goes fantastic with it.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, if you get a chance to pour that with those, it goes really good.
The Lambrusco is nice and light right now. It is tart also. I guess I have 2 tart wines right now. But the tartness comes out, and then it kind of because of the sparkling aspect of it, evaporates off my tongue. Kind of woo. But let me try the salami with it.
What do you think? Everybody gets quiet. That means we're eating and drinking.
Yep, that's right.
Things are happening. People are getting jealous.
Yeah.
What's that?
The salami gets a little bit more flavorful, actually. Lambrusco is helping it along, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good. I mean, not that it's top of the line, but it's good salami to begin with. But you can see that there is an interaction happening with the Lambrusco. So, that's another thing we really had never experienced before the blog was the charcuterie. Even we had never even heard the word. We're what? Salami? Oh, salami's good. I don't know. But the whole idea of the wine and the cheese and the meats and the nuts and the olives. Now that's a staple. Ooh, let's not cook tonight. Let's just have salami and have some cheese and have some olives and that'll be great.
That's a meal, right?
Yeah.
I do that. I sit here, we'll just nosh on bread, cheese, wine, that's it. And then that's our meal. I don't mind. My waistline minds it, but my palate doesn't mind it. I took some Twitter questions. People emailed me.
Yeah, I was watching mine. I haven't seen anything yet, so go for it.
They sent me a direct message. What's your favorite wine and cheese pairing? Or wine and food? What's your favorite? It doesn't necessarily have to be cheese, but
well, I actually, like I said, I always like cheeses and wines that have an interaction that comes out, new, like I said, something that pops up, like I said, the walnuts or something like that. Kind of as a rule, Gouda is one of my favorite cheeses. And I did some research on it recently for the blog, and I found out that it's actually pronounced Gouda if you're there. Okay. And that's the place where the cheese originated. But it didn't even originate there. It was that's where they sold the cheese. And that's why, and that was the point of my entry was, wait a minute, what is Gouda cheese? Because I started thinking, and I'm okay, there's young Gouda, there's old Gouda, there's goat Gouda, there's sheep Gouda. I'm there's cow Gouda. I'm well, what is Gouda? I was really I gotta figure this out because I was really scratching my head about it. I'm I'm like, okay, well, usually it depends on something. I'm like, but this is like everything is Gouda. Like whatever you want, you call it Gouda or whatever. that was the deal, was that they all sold in Gouda, and that's why Gouda has so many different varieties. But so yeah, Gouda with what? I actually have done it with a lot of different wines. I can't think of a favorite pairing right now. I've fortunately done so many that it's been a great 3 years, and I really enjoy all of the wine and cheese pairings. But as far as like a standout, oh my God, I mean, one thing that we did get to do was we went to a wine and food pairing at a place in Sonoma called Sapphire Hill. Okay. And that was amazing. I mean, it was like a 5-course meal. They had like a watermelon salad with feta and paired like a rosé with it.
Yeah.
And that they paired chocolate with. Yeah. And like, there was like this little like pork thing with coleslaw, and I forget, that might have been a lighter red, but I mean, like I said, it's all about like the whole package for me. I mean, I like the experience in general, so I don't go, oh God, that one there, that was the best one ever. Like, I mean, I remember we had a Cabernet that someone suggested that we try. And we were like, oh, I don't know. Cabernet can be really intense here in California. I don't know if we're going to like that. And they were like, well, you might taste chocolate in this Cabernet. And I was like, okay. And so I was really trying. Like, I was like, oh, I got to taste the chocolate. Like, they said this was going to happen. But then it was like 2 days later, finally, it was like, oh, there's the chocolate. But, you know, it's so subjective. It's like, did I drink enough water today? Do I have a good palate?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say I guess I don't have a super standout right now, but I mean, it's definitely awesome. I mean, and almost all of them are good. Like I said, Neil and I go back and forth. Like, he's like, well, this pairing was terrific. And I'm like, oh, I didn't like that pairing, but I love the cheese. They're like, oh, the wine was really interesting or something. So, so it's definitely been a lot of fun experiences. Do you have a favorite wine and cheese pairing?
You know what, the one that always stands out, when I first got into the business, somebody came around with the Pinot Grigio, and Pinot Grigio doesn't light my world on fire, but something about this Pinot Grigio, he paired it with an extra aged, it was like a 3-year-old Parmesan Reggiano.
Oh yeah.
And again, people always say, oh no, you drink reds with, I'm like, this Pinot and the Parm together just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this stuff's phenomenal. And I couldn't stop eating or drinking the two. And it's the most simplistic pairing I could think of, that, people say, oh, that sounds boring. I'm like, you know what? Some of the best things are just casual like that. It just happens when it's magic, it just happens, and to me, the wine brought out like a sweetness in the Parm, and it was fantastic. It just like blew my mind away. Right. But I mean, other than that, I've had I've had great ports with blue cheese or sauternes, which is a sweeter French wine. Those are good. But if you said, what stands out in your mind, it's always that Pinot Grigio and Parm. Nothing stand out again, nothing amazing or something, real eccentric. Pinot Grigio, Parmesan Reggiano. That's it.
Yeah. We were doing a video chat with some friends once when we first started the wine and cheese blog, and we had Cabernet Sauvignon and a Brie. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe you wouldn't think to do that because again, Cab can be so heavy, and why would you go with a fresh cheese or whatever? But I remember we ate that whole thing and drank that whole bottle before the end of the conversation, and we were like, I guess it's good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe we're just so caught up in everything. I don't know, but I mean, we finished that thing right off at the end. Like, we're like, oh, okay. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's rules out there. I mean, there's a lot of guidelines and rules out there, but basically it comes down to what you like. and just go with it. I mean, people are always so focused on, perfect pairings. I'm like, you know what? If you really like it, just try it. If it works for you, do it. I mean, I'll give lists of do's and don'ts all the time, but it's like somebody will always come up to me and say, no, I've done this pairing before. I like it. All right, who's to say you're wrong? You're not. It's your palate. It's about what you enjoy. So,
right. And that really is the only rule. I mean, throughout our time that we've been doing it, now we do get ideas of like, oh, we should do this wine with this cheese. Like the cheese we're having tonight, we had a rosé that we got from El Dorado County, which is near like Yosemite. Like it was from Yosemite, so it's not a California region that a lot of people have any idea about.
Right.
But we had an awesome tasting there. The winery was called Madronia. We probably tried 15 wines that day. I mean, we were like, oh boy, that was a lot of wine. But we had a rosé of a Zinfandel, which was super cool because it was like the whole, taboo of white Zinfandel and it's pink and whatever. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a rosé of a Zinfandel.
Right.
And because we were near Yosemite, we bought the bottle on the way to the place we were staying, but then we couldn't get any cheese. So then we were pondering after that, like, ooh, what cheese would we have put with that wine? And this little squishy cake guy right here came to our mind. Like, we're like, that would go with this rosé. This would be good. So, once you do it more often, you can figure it out. Like, so, I mean, I don't know. So it's, like I said, it's been fun. It's cool to know which things would pair well together. But as far as like right now today, what is my all-time favorite? I'm not sure.
It's all about being in the moment. Whatever's in front right now, whatever's in front of you right now, that's the best pairing. So,
right.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. It's been a blast. I had a really good time. We got to do this again. We're gonna have to come up with another theme and do it again. This was really fun. I enjoy your whole philosophy with wine, with food, with cheese, and everything. So tell everybody where they can find you on social media, because you're all over now. You just exploded with this website going live. You exploded. You're on everywhere now. Tell people where they can find you. And I encourage people that are watching this on replay, reach out to Maria if you have any questions about cheese and wine. Even traveling. If you're into traveling, talk to her. Talk to Neil. You don't see him. He's behind that camera. But reach out to them. I encourage people to email, ask questions. There he is. There's the hand. He's doing hand puppets. So tell everybody where they can find you, Maria.
Yeah. We have probably every account that there is. And I typed it all out so that we could just copy and paste it into this right now. Nope. So I don't know. Will the chat thing be on the replay? Does that work, or do they just hear it?
I think the replay on Fire Talk, they'll see it. When I put it on YouTube, they won't, but I'll list everything in the description, all the links in the description. Christy had a blast.
Yeah, well, so we have our website is wineandcheesefriday.com. I'm on Twitter. That's just Wine Cheese Fry. Instagram, same thing, Wine Cheese Fry. I have a Facebook fan page that's at Wine and Cheese Friday.
Yep.
I have a Tumblr account. That was my personal account before we transitioned over to the full-blown website. That is mferraro73. I have a Pinterest account also. That's Ferraro Beardsley without the Y at the end. So, I mean, I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere. You have to be, though. You have to be everywhere.
I feel like last week, because of the launch and everything, I was like, oh my God, I'm in my computer. Like, I can't even, I can't see around the screen. Like, I'm in it today. So, but yeah, I just created the Instagram account. That's brand new as of like 4 days ago. So people probably aren't following that yet, but
we'll get them there.
You can email me just maria@wineandcheesefriday.com. We have that all set up too. So
excellent.
So hopefully that covers how they can find me. If they can't, then you could always just Google Maria Ferraro Beardsley, because I tag everything with my name.
Excellent. Good. Okay.
All over the place. Like I take up like 4 pages of the Google search or something. So
If you can't find Maria, you're not on the internet. You got a bad connection. She's everywhere right now. And I'm Wine1011 over on Twitter for people that want to get a hold of me. If you have any questions or you want to hear us talk about something live on this show, send your suggestions over to me. You can email me at vino@wineschool101.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Follow all my links on the Twitter page. I'm very active on Twitter. And again, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to another time we can sit down and share a glass. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate us making this happen.
So thank you. And we'll talk soon again.
All right. Very
Bye.
good.
Next deal.
Great.
We'll see you.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.